Network. My name is Phumelele Zondi. Now in the program this evening, we'll tell you about how child abuse has moved to digital devices as it is a Child Protection Week. We have information on tech discussions that took place at the World Economic Forum on Africa in Cape Town. It's Youth Month in South Africa, so we invited a young person in technology to be our guest this evening. Her name is Ngobile Dlamini from Microsoft South Africa. We are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. It's Child Protection Week, and the focus is also on child abuse in digital media. This can happen through cyberbullying and adults sexting children.
While digital media has given a lot of good, it can also be used to harass children. Some are now using media to cyberbully or sext children. These are against the law, as the Gauteng Justice Department told Morning Live.
Sexting is when you are sending like nude or semi-nude, which one can say is like pornography. If you are sending it to kids, it's child pornography. And then you are sending it using also cell phones, and then it can be other through Twitter, and then all those new technologies that we are using, Facebook maybe. But when it comes to sexting, it's when you are using those nude photos or semi-nude. Yeah.
Some adults go to the extent of convincing children to take nude pictures of themselves. Such often goes unnoticed by parents because many are not as technologically savvy as their children. The Gauteng Department of Justice says parents should at least learn the basics of digital media tools that their children use on a daily basis.
It's very, very important as parents that we keep on talking to our kids about the disadvantages of this, and then what happens, what are the consequences of this, because it might not start as a bad thing. Do you get my point? And then as it goes on, that is when it starts. Then as parents, we must educate them. And then I think it's very, very important that, yes, it might be difficult for us to also be in advance, for example, to advance ourselves with this technology.
The proposed online regulations bill by the Films and Publications Board is to hold those sharing and distributing pornographic content online accountable, and is expected to play a big role in reducing the level of child abuse in the digital space. It proposes that those sharing pornographic content through the internet face jail time.
The World Economic Forum on Africa ended in Cape Town on Friday, and one of the big talking points is Africa's uptake of new technologies and how this can help economies or possibly threaten jobs. Discussions were trying to find new ways and make suggestions of dealing with the impact of technology in Africa's markets. This year's World Economic Forum on Africa was themed Reimagining Africa. Africa is now seen as a new investment frontier. With that, new technologies come into the market.
You see Kenya being the hub of the ICT hub for Africa. The bandwidth speeds certainly in East and West Africa have increased. So I think that the migration is happening, maybe not as fast as we would like.
But there is a fear in some quarters of what this switch to all things digital will do to the continent's already high unemployment rates. This was one of the issues raised at the World Economic Forum on Africa, which ended in Cape Town on Friday.
The effect of technology to jobs. You've moved from manual labor to mechanization. We're into robotics now. Unless you take that whole unemployed people with you, you either have, honestly, you have to have a new world where only those that are technologically savvy will live, but we know that's not the reality.
So the suggestion here is that solutions need to be found for those that are not technologically savvy, so they too become a part of the new economy. This is the economy that is picking up mobile phones at a fast rate, and helping grow Africa's economies is mobile money. There's also an estimated 45% of Africans making use of mobile money services, a number that is far bigger than the West. That is the reason this topic has been important at the World Economic Forum on Africa. China's Huawei Technologies says it wants to be a part of this market and expects to double its smartphone device imports to South Africa to reach 2 million this year.
The population is there. It means the opportunities are there. Yeah. So look at the whole Africa continent. Sure, South Africa still, is the most, growing fast area, and also like in West Africa, Nigeria, yeah, and also in the north, right, Egypt, and also in the East Africa, Kenya, yeah, and another countries will also pay more attention. One is Angola. In the past around 15 years, the GDP growth of Angola is quite well.
But this improvement of technology and internet penetration also poses new threats that can destroy Africa's economies, as it could have in Ghana last year.
The fear every morning waking up was when the social media claimed that there was an Ebola case in Ghana, that would be blamed for bringing something that wasn't there.
But the rumors could have threatened travel to Ghana and thus economic growth in the West African country. So as Africa's economies are receiving a boost from new tech innovations, they also need to figure out ways of dealing with new challenges that come as a result of technology innovations. FNB has become the first bank in South Africa to have its own SIM card. The card will be linked to customers' bank accounts.
This is FNB's new offering. It's a SIM card that links customers' bank and phone accounts. It's the first time a South Africa bank is attempting to do something like this.
FNB, we already do prepaid top-ups. We already sell contracts to customers. We do ADSL, offer 3G data rewards. So I think the next logical step in the customer journey was to issue an FNB SIM.
FNB says it's been thinking about everyday mobile phone usage as it has been deciding on how its SIM card can work when linked with a bank account. One can even activate international roaming online when they've forgotten to do it before leaving the country.
A lot of customers lose their cell phones, drop it under their car seats or misplace it. So they can go on online, block the SIM. When they find their cell phone again, they can just click activate.
The structure has taken about 3 years to build. FNB has been testing the SIM card with its employees since November last year. The bank says the time to do this was never going to be shorter than it was.
The financials teams were involved, the actuaries were involved, we had the business teams involved, there was a lot of legal compliance and risk teams involved. We also had all the architecture teams involved because we were integrating into the bank's architecture from a new billing and support platform.
The FNB SIM card will only be for the bank's customers, as one must have an FNB account in order for the two to be linked. It will be made available on the 15th of June. While customers will be billed by FNB, the bank is utilizing the Cell C network for this.
It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter, News Network at sabc.co.za and email. After the break, we're going to talk to Ngobile Dlamini. She's a young person who works for Microsoft here in South Africa, and we're going to talk about all things technology and young people on the African continent this Youth Month. Stay with us.
Information-hungry viewers stay with SABC News, as issues on the West are different from issues on the East or here in Johannesburg. So it is not surprising that people who follow the news know that there are two things for sure: that anything can happen, and SABC News will tell you when it does. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News.
It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter, News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, we often hear about Africa's high youth unemployment rate, but with many challenges in the continent, maybe technology innovation is where young Africans are making their mark. This South African Youth Month on Network, we will be celebrating young people using technology to help solve some of our problems.
It's Youth Month in South Africa, and we know that Africa is dealing with high youth unemployment rates. Young people often make an effort to leave the continent to look for greener pastures elsewhere. But as it is young people that consume most new technologies, maybe that is where they need to look into here in Africa. This is already happening as a group of young South Africans working with the MLab in Pretoria developed an anti-xenophobia application. They were solving a problem that exists in their native South Africa.
What pushed us the most is that we wanted to say, not in our name, you can't do xenophobia in our name. So being part of this project was to say that my name stands for unity, my name stands for humanity.
But this is only one of the ideas that young people have come up with in the technology sector. There are many such ideas all over the African continent. And this Youth Month, we'll be celebrating them here on Network.
And to talk to us about youth in technology is Ngobile Dlamini. She is the citizenship lead at Microsoft South Africa. Ngobile joins us from our Durban studios this evening. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network, Ngobile.
Thank you, Spumelele, and thank you to the viewers at home.
Now, Ngobile, maybe if you can tell us what sparked your interest in technology.
I think what sparked my interest in technology is that from the time when I grew up, I've always wanted to be in corporate and I've always wanted to make a difference. And when I studied IT, for me, it was really being part of a system that's going to change the world, because the fact is technology changes lives. Technology touches lives in education, in health. What exactly in the world does not operate without technology? And so for me, I really wanted to be part of this fast-growing world, but most importantly, to use technology to make a difference in the world.
Citizenship lead, rather, at Microsoft. It sounds like a fancy term. What is it?
Corporate citizenship, it's mainly looking after our corporate citizenship in South Africa, and it's really looking at our local relevance, because as Microsoft, our greatest focus is on how we become locally relevant in a country that we operate in. And in this case, it is from our BBBE strategy. As Microsoft, we're a level 2 BBBE partner. It is our youth development, because as Microsoft, we've developed a national plan that totally aligns to the government's national plan, and empowering the youth is one of the key pillars that we focus on. And in this case, we're not just empowering the youth, but it's looking at how do we empower the youth through skills for employability and addressing the youth unemployment issue in the country.
Let's talk about that national plan, that Microsoft national plan that you're talking about, which is aligned with government's national plan. Can you just tell us about it briefly?
As Microsoft, we are a very strategic partner, and what we decided to do is that when we operate in South Africa, we want to develop a national plan that talks to the government's national plan. And one of the key pillars that we drive, it is empowering the youth, and the other pillars, it's enterprise development, and another pillar, it's digital inclusion, and also driving a capable state. And the things that we look at, especially on empowering the youth, one of the key programs we wanted to drive, our focus was on driving youth unemployment in South Africa. I think when we first came into South Africa, our partners kept telling us that we're not getting the right talent, we're not getting the right people, we're not getting the right skills. And as Microsoft, we thought that we are sitting in a country where there's so many unemployed youths who are graduates, but they're not getting the jobs, mainly because they don't have the core skill that is required on the job. And as Microsoft, we took on the role that why don't we partner with our partners and get the unemployed graduates, and a partner will tell us that they require a particular skill, and we'll train those young people on that skill that's required by the partner. And while they are being trained, they are spending 12 months on a job getting work experience, which is relevant work experience. And we've seen over 80% of them being kept in full-time employment, when there's really been over 8,000 of the young people that have gone through this particular program.
And where would you find these young people from, Ngobile?
It is a program that happens across the country. As Microsoft, we're a national organization, and our engagement with our partners has really moved to a level of where Microsoft becomes a trusted partner in providing core skills for our partners. It's across the country nationally in all 9 provinces, and we have also become a trusted partner with the MICT CETA and the Jobs Fund, because we were one of the first corporates to be granted funding by the Jobs Fund, mainly because the model works and we've seen young people getting skills, because I think that's the key thing that we need to address in Africa. How do we get our young people to get the accredited skills and high-profile skills for them to solve our African problems? Because that's the key issue, that the biggest population, it's youth, and for them to remain so unemployed, when you think that 26% of the country's population is unemployed, it's a serious issue, and 70% of that 26% are young people. And how are we addressing that as the country? It becomes a real critical issue.
And I suppose the impact that technology has on young people is beyond just being consumers of this media. It's also working in the industry as well. Very much. I totally agree. But also, most importantly, because you're looking at a technology sector that wants to drive skills for innovation, 21st century skills for employability. How do we give our young people these skills? You look at app development, that how is this solving problems in the country? And we are in a country where it's interesting, because I just read the stats that currently in South Africa we have more people owning cell phones than people who have access to water. It is a concerning issue, but how are people using this technology? When you have a cell phone, do you realize that you have a tool that can get you access to skills? And are you even tapping into that market? Because I think we need to change the way in which we think about how people can access these skills. Because if a person has got a cell phone, they already have that channel to access the skills that they require and to create businesses. Because it's not just employment, but how do we get young people to be entrepreneurs and create jobs? Because that's the continent we are in, and that's the thinking that we need to move into, and technology can drive that. In fact, technology is driving that agenda in the country already. And the Student to Business program that Microsoft has, what is that?
The Student to Business program, it was mainly driven to address the ICT skills gap. And what you see currently, I think our biggest challenge, like I mentioned earlier, we're having so many unemployed youths that are not getting employment. And we had partners that were just reaching out for the great talent. And as Microsoft, we wanted to bridge the skills gap and train the people. But most importantly, it is how do you bring, because the challenge that we have as a country, our young people go to universities and they get the degrees, but they do not have the skill that's required on the job. And Student to Business was mainly crafted to address that market. Because when you look currently at the IDC study, you can see that top 3 skills that are required by employers globally, one of those skills will be Microsoft Office. But how are we spreading that as a country, getting every young person to get that skill while they are in college, while they're having access to education, so that when they leave, they can become relevant to the job market? And addressing those skills become a very critical part that we need to play as a nation. And that's what Microsoft is driving in our youth skills agenda.
Ellen Ngobile, you spoke about the lack of awareness of what tools like mobile phones can do for people. Is there awareness, and what can we do to increase that awareness, one? And also, what can we do to increase the awareness of programs like the one you just spoke about right now, the Student to Business program?
I think the key thing, we need our young people to get more access to what is happening out there. And one of the key programs we are trying to introduce, because that was the thinking around, we're thinking about the fact that as a country, we're all trying to address the scourge of youth unemployment. And we all have programs. So many corporates have got programs that are running, that are addressing this issue. But when I am sitting in my home, say I live in a rural village in Ingqutu, how do I know what is available out there? And that is the challenge that we are facing, that most of these programs happen in urban areas, in Durban, in Joburg, and in Cape Town. But what are we doing to make technology available across and to democratize technology, because that's the key thing. But what are we trying to do as well as Microsoft? It is to introduce a virtual platform where we can centralize all these opportunities for young people. Could it be possible for a young person in a certain particular area
briefly,
to go through?
If I can ask you quickly, do you see a lot of innovation by young people in South Africa, and the young people that you interact with as Microsoft? Is there tech innovation that's happening there?
There's a lot of tech innovation. We're seeing a lot of app development that is happening currently with one of our programs that is happening currently. We're seeing young people that are developing apps. We're getting as many young people to develop apps. But I think the key thing with that app development, we want young people to solve our South African problems.
Yes.
We want young people to create social solutions. And as part of that agenda, we're seeing young people responding. But also there is a challenge with young people in schools to respond to this as well.
All right. Ngobile Dlamini, thank you very much. Ngobile Dlamini is Citizenship Lead at Microsoft South Africa. Thank you for being a part of our network tonight. Now, let's see what some of you have been sharing with us in social media. Some people that chatted with us in social media are not happy that the Malawi government now has a tax on data and text messaging. This was announced by the country's finance minister on Friday. FNB customers are happy that the bank is offering a SIM card. Many say they have been looking for a new player in the market. And Ivorians have been chatting about the new Miss Cote d'Ivoire. They seem to be excited at the judge's choice. The 2015 World 3D Printing Technology Industry Conference and Expo opened on Wednesday in Chengdu in China. 3D printing technology has been called the next technological revolution that could change the way we think and live. Its proponents say it allows individuals to realize their creativity in a quick and easy way.
Although it was invented 30 years ago, 3D printing is yet to make a major mark on most people's daily lives. One can now print just about anything in a couple of seconds. Experts say in 10 years, the world will be in an era of intelligent manufacturing, which will completely change the way we live. And now there is even an expo to showcase what this type of technology can do. It takes place in Chengdu, China.
On the industrial side as well, we're seeing more parts go on aircraft. So aircraft are looking to use these parts. They're going to be lighter, they're going to be more efficient. So it's a major fuel savings. So environmental is going to benefit from that.
To apply this technology in all walks of life, there is still a lot of work to be done for the scientists and makers involved.
In order to widen the application of the technology, we need to make the materials better. We need to make the machines faster. We need to make the machines 100 times cheaper in order to see these technologies being applied. In the future, the technology will be able to print biological materials, print organs to repair body parts, but it might also be able to print iPhones and gadgets and technology. And this is the most important development, I think, we're chasing.
There are still obstacles that 3D printing will have to contend with in the future if it wants to move into the mainstream. These include copywriting issues. But for now, with costs continuing to fall and accessibility growing, the technology's potential appears as limitless as one's imagination.
That's all we have for you. We leave you with a video showing 19-year-old Easton LaChapelle's cheap robotic hand. Remember that we are live. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za and email. From me and the rest of the team, have a good one.